Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Heart of Worcester College. Just a few housekeeping things. We're not expecting any fire alarms, but if any do go off, the fire escapes are marked in the green at the top there, at the back and at the side. The toilets in this building are out of these entrances and then behind here. As I hope you know now, we'll be starting the morning here and then moving on to the main college building for the workshops during the day. Okay, so to kick things off, I'd like to introduce Worcester College's Principal, Stuart Laverick, who's going to be welcomed.
Thank you, Peter. It's great to see everybody, and it's nice to see some familiar faces. I know many of you are very, very committed to this agenda, and it's nice to see some new faces as well. I think what I want to say is, yes, very much welcome to Heart of Worcester College, and thank you for bringing some nice weather. It was atrocious yesterday, so it was nice to see some sunshine, and it's good to see. I think most people have got here on time, so hopefully the roads weren't too painful. I know people travel from long distances. I also have to say welcome to those who are beaming in electronically. Some of those are coming from very far away, so it's good to have them involved as well. I think a couple of things I really want to emphasise. It's nice to be here, as always, in the Artrix Theatre. This is a great example of collaboration where the college donated the land so the theatre could be built, which contributes massively to the local arts and creative economy in this part of Worcestershire. And I think that notion of partnership with the arts community, the district council and the college is critical. I get a great deal of pride, and I'm always delighted to take time out to come and talk to the Blended Learning Consortium in these events, because it is massively important for FE that we show that we work collectively for the common good. I think it's particularly important when we're often and rightly very critical of some of the behaviours of the schools we compete with and work with, but who do not work always in the interests of learners. And I think FE in the past has at times been over-competitive, not collaborative enough. I take great pride in the work that we're doing together in producing real quality learning materials and ways of using learning technologies to empower learners and businesses, and this is going to be critical now and in the future. And I think that innovative approach and collaborative approach where we're looking to work together, using public monies together, using your many talents and co-creating really strong product, really strong ways of innovative learning that is by its nature accessible to many people. It's great, for example, today that we have our partners from the Royal National College in Hereford, where we know we're working with good quality technologies. It's about assistive technologies, but we all benefit, whatever our particular learning needs, whatever our issues around access. But it's about empowering learners to move forward and be future-proofed. And I'm very excited by that. And I'm very proud, as somebody who's been more than 30 years in education and very passionate about the FE sector, that we've shown that we can work together, we are working together, we're collaborating and moving forward. And it's actually leading to results. Some of the interventions we have in being area reviews and other things which I don't think are necessarily leading to a great deal of good, which are being imposed on us. We don't need that, but what we need to show as a body that we can come together and make things work for our learners, to show that we can get value for money, that we can be creative. And I can't emphasise this enough. I'm in a number of forums nationally. We've been through our area review. We're talking to a lot of people where they're saying how credible is the FE to have this important role going forward in the skills, technical education, vocational education, and we are showing our ability to be moving forward together. We're doing it, nobody's doing it to us, and that is crucial. Our credibility is high. Although I have issues with the area review process, it's been good that during that, Peter Mucklow, the Sixth Form Commissioner, even David Collins, who's not particularly renowned for a passion on technology, has at least had the decency to acknowledge the work we're doing is absolutely critical and has promoted it as part of the area review process, is encouraging people as a way forward. I know Peter, on behalf of the consortium and the work we're doing with Down, talking to Bobby McClelland at BIS, who's one of the big chief civil servants who's pushing this agenda. So make no bones, by coming together, unity is strength, as they say on the miners' band, where I'm from. But it is true, you can get and amplify the message. You can get listened to. Credibility is high when we work together. And that is crucial. So thank you for that. It's important for the sector. It transcends even the many colleges who are here. It's important for the sector. It gives us the credibility. I'm really excited by the materials that are being produced. I'm really excited that I can see learners, and when I go around my own college and I see them using some of the materials and getting involved in it, I'm really pleased that they're being empowered. They are starting clearly to see, and many of them are feeding back, how when we get the learner voice, they're seeing how when they're going to progress into work, into apprenticeships, into higher education, into further study, they feel like we've empowered them. They feel, you can sense, they're bright enough to know they're being future-proof. They're not dependent on us. They've been enabled to move forward. And I think that's exciting in terms of their ability to effectively network and to see the value of technology in their ongoing learning and their ongoing communication and developing careers, multiple careers in those networks that are so critical. And that's a big achievement for people who perhaps have been brought up seeing that technology as primarily a social and leisure device. It's very important that we show its power and how much you can support people moving forward. And that's the work you're doing, you're pioneering, and again, it warms my heart to see that FE is taking such a leading role in that. So again, thank you very much. Enjoy the conference. You're going to hear lots of good, interesting things and reflections on where we are, where we want to go, how we're going to move forward. And they are, nobody can deny the fact, change is here. We know the challenges, but the opportunities. Technology is, it's threats or opportunity. It's how you play it. It's the same thing with the political changes we've a week on, and we're all probably still reeling with that. But again, it's an opportunity. And for me, I'm excited in one way. If the decision that is being taken is, right, okay, we're going to make our stamp in a global world. If we're going to be competitive in a global world, we're going to have very skilled people in technical, vocational, academic areas who are going to move the country forward. We're going to have that technology if we're going to reach markets, particularly in service environments where the use of technology to trade, to work with people, to network, to co-create is going to be essential. The excellent opportunity. Now, I do believe the powers that be, and I do sometimes question all the powers that be in terms of the political classes, but I do think they understand that if we're now going to make this happen, it's people like your good selves working on these initiatives that take us forward. And that's exciting, and to me, I feel hopeful about that. I've got confidence in you. I might have less confidence in some of the political classes, but I have confidence in the work you do collectively. And with that, we will move forward. So I think that's exciting. And again, it's something that I know many of the people in this audience I've spoken to before, I've got a real passion for this, and that's great, and that will take us forward. So have a great day. I will now hand over to Peter Kilcon. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Stuart. Okay, well, I hope you've all noticed the hashtag if any of you want to tweet about the conference as we move forward today. Okay, so my presentation is really to sort of talk about the year that's just gone in what the Blended Learning Consortium has been doing, and to look ahead as to what may be coming up for us. So, going back, why at Hertfordshire College, just over a year ago, did we decide that the sector needed a Blended Learning Consortium? Now, as many of you know, at Hertfordshire College, we've been running a full cross-college blended learning curriculum for over 5 years now. And we've worked this through our colleagues using free content on the whole, stuff that's out there on the internet, and then using the tools in Moodle to build activities and to build assessments around that. And this has worked very well for us. But the problem's often been that the free content that we use isn't perfect. It's not always written specifically for the FE learner. Now, most lecturers don't have the time to create resources, and they don't have the specialised skills to create high-quality interactive resources. So we needed to find another way to get resources developed if we wanted to have really good, high-quality interactive resources that could be used for blended learning in further education. Now, over the last few years, you'll see Matt and Tracy here, who lead the content team. We've built up a growing content team who have been building content for many outside projects. The problem with this for producing stuff for the college is the cost is too high. It costs between £500 and £2,000 per learning hour to create high quality interactive learning objects, and that's clearly beyond the scope of any college doing that for their own curriculum. So it struck us that the only way that we could move forward and get content that's built for the sector, by the sector, written by people who teach the courses, who understand the curriculum, was by colleges working together, pooling resources, each college putting in a small amount of money, sharing that, and using that to develop resources. And a real benefit of this for the sector is that this has helped a number of colleges who have partnered with us in the Blended Learning Consortium build their own capacity. So we've had writers from a number of colleges curriculum staff who we've trained up in how to write for e-learning, and a number of colleges have also come to us for training on using Articulate Storyline, the authoring tool we're using, and that's helping to build up the capacity of the sector to move forward with blended learning. So how does the consortium work? Now, one of the key principles, or the key principle behind the consortium, is that it's democratic. Heart of Worcestershire College lead the consortium, but we certainly don't make decisions about what happens. All the key decisions are made democratically on the basis of one vote per college on what we do. So each college puts in £5,000 per year. That is pooled into a pot. Then regularly, colleges propose content, we vote on that, and what comes out as the most popular is the content that's developed. Once we decide what content we're going to develop, we train up staff to write that content. That money that is pooled is used to pay those staff, and then that written material is e-learnified, we develop it, and again, the pooled money is used to pay for that development. And in addition to that, colleges are also sharing their own high-quality content, stuff that they've already got. So in addition to member colleges getting the resources that are developed through the consortium funding, they're also getting resources that other colleges have developed and are freely sharing. Right, now I just want to talk a little bit about the development process in more detail. How do we actually go about building, designing, writing, creating these resources? We start with voting, and we've had 3 rounds of voting so far. As the consortium has grown over the year, we've had more funding coming in, which has allowed us to do another vote. So we had our first one in October, our second one I think was in January, and our third one was I think in April. So we begin with voting. Now the way the voting works is that the senior manager representative in each college is asked to put forward 3 areas that they would like to prioritise for development. So that will be along the lines of engineering level 3, travel and tourism level 2, English GCSE. They suggest areas where they want to see development happen. We then get a big long list of all those things that are put forward. We use SurveyMonkey. There's a ranking question tool in SurveyMonkey where people can go in and then put those in order from highest to lowest as to what they want developed. And again, each college, one person, usually the senior management, goes into SurveyMonkey and ranks all those suggestions from highest to lowest. From there, we then know what are we going to develop, and we look at the funding we've got, and we know how many we can fund to develop the learning resources. Now, the next challenge is we have lots of colleges involved. We've got colleges from Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and England. We're not all teaching to the same specifications, so we need to ensure that what we're developing meets the needs of all the member colleges. So we go through a consultation process. Now the way that works, we ask each member college to give us one contact in the particular curriculum area being developed. So for example, when engineering level 3 was chosen, we asked each college to give us the email address of a level 3 engineering lecturer who would be happy to get involved in the consultation. We put all of them into a round robin email. This is coordinated by the HOW team. And then we have a discussion through email as to where are the overlaps, between the specifications. Now, I have to say, this was something that before the first time we did it, I was a little bit nervous about it. I thought, are we going to be able to find enough overlap? When we choose a curriculum area, what we do in general is we develop 30 learning objects for that curriculum area. And that will support a blended learning model where you are doing 1 hour weeks, blended learning over 30 weeks, that's the solar model at Howe College, and an awful lot of colleges are doing a very similar approach to do that with them. So we put them together, we do that consultation. Now, thankfully, what we found is that actually has proved very straightforward in every area selected. There is a big overlap between the specifications. If you're doing engineering level 3, there's a whole load of stuff that regards of what specification you're doing, that will be on there. Now, once we've done that consultation and we've identified the learning outcomes, the topics that the material is going to cover, the next stage is curriculum writing. Now, here is where we have to get the subject experts writing these learning materials. Now, again, the challenge there is that for most people, we go to lecturers in the member colleges, this is a completely new thing for them to do. They've not written for online before. So we do a half-day training session with the writers that are selected, where they learn how to storyboard for a learning object. So basically, the learning objects are a series of slides with interactions, with videos, with assessments. They learn about the functionality that Articulate Storyline has, the sorts of things that you can do with it, and then they learn how to write to that functionality. And those curriculum writers are then paid with the consortium money for the work that they do. Once the curriculum writing is done, it then goes through an editing process, and that's really crucial. And partly that's about checking for typos, for spelling, for grammar. It's about checking that the language is right, and often writers will sort of drift a level or even 2 levels above the appropriate language. So if they're writing a level 2 learning object, sometimes they'll write language that, when you have to say to them, this is a level 2 learner, working alone, working independently, will they fully understand what that sentence means? And so the sort of work around that kind of thing goes on. We look at the assessments. Do the assessments meet the learning outcomes? And the editors are all trained teachers. So there's people who understand pedagogy, there are people who understand learning, and there's often a bit of bouncing back between the writer and the editor before the editor is satisfied, yes, this is done, this is ready to go to the next stage, which is the e-learning production. So the e-learning production at the moment is pretty much all taking place in Heart of Worcester College, with the Howe team building the learning objects based on this content. But over the year, as I said, the team have been training up developers in other colleges in the approach that we're using, and that next year more of that work will go into the member colleges. So the team do the e-learning production, they use Articulate Storyline, they build the interactive learning objects based on the storyboards that have come from the writers. Once that's completed, we then go into quality assurance and user testing. So initially we do an internal QA, so once one developer has finished something, they pass that on to another member of the development team. What I find really good is the development team, they are happy to be positively critical with each other. So it's not like they're a bunch of mates sort of saying, yeah, that's brilliant, great, well done. They will say, are you sure about that? Could that have been done better? And so we do a lot of internal QA where learning objects are bounced around between the team and they're polished and they're improved. Once the team is happy that they're ready to go, we then share those to the community, to the member colleges, and we ask for feedback from the member colleges. We ask them to test with their lecturers and with their learners and for feedback to us. And any feedback that we get about how things will be improved, we'll do some final tweaks before the resources are finally released to the community. Right, so progress to date, and I keep having to change this slide. It said 65 yesterday morning. I was absolutely delighted to get a phone call from Cornwall College, who joined yesterday at around 10 o'clock, So we now have 66 colleges. I'm particularly pleased about having Cornwall because I don't know how many of you have seen the map of the blended learning colleges. It's great to fill in that there's a bit of a hole down the southwest. So, you know, when we get a London college, you know, it's just another one into the big cluster. You can't see it's an extra college, but I like filling in those holes where in the big rural areas. So that always particularly delights me. So we have pretty much a quarter of all of the GFE colleges in the UK are now members of this consortium. And, you know, pretty much a week hasn't gone by over the last few months when a college has joined. And, you know, given the consortium's only been running since August and most is on holiday most of August, you can see that the sum's only been sort of 30-odd weeks that it's been going, so it's pretty much an average of 2 colleges a week have been joining the consortium. So we have 3 rounds of content development going on at the moment. This is coming to well over 750 hours. And again, I think that's getting a bit out of date now because we've had 3 or 4 colleges join in the last 2 weeks. So that's an extra £20,000 worth of funding, which is enabling us to develop around about an extra 40 hours of learning. It's around about just under £500 per hour is the cost of this development. In addition to all of that material that's being shared, we're also sharing, colleges are sharing existing content. We just had a lot through from Turkleys. Where's David? So David at the back, thank you very much. Your college has shared a number of really nice learning objects last week. And I'd like to encourage more member colleges. You know, you've all got some good stuff. Share that with us. Share that through the consortium. We all benefit from that. Okay, so this is where I go a bit Bond villain and want to get my white cat out. This is the map of all of the colleges. We did this yesterday morning, so we haven't got Cornwall on there yet. So imagine another dot down in Cornwall. And you see, we've got a great spread across the whole UK. We've got half of the Northern Ireland colleges signed up. We've got more than half of the Welsh colleges signed up. We've got 5 colleges in Scotland signed up. And hopefully you can all guess which is your own individual college there on that map. And, you know, we love it whenever we add another college to that map, and we're hoping that's going to continue going over the next few years. And so in terms of the colleges on board, that's who are signed up. Okay, so what is it that we're developing? And I was fascinated to see what would come out of this voting. What is it that the sector wanted? And so the first round of voting, we did this, there were about 15 colleges that were on board when we did this, so sort of early days. And for those 15 colleges, this is in order of preference. And what sort of struck us about this, the first 4 things are things that you can use across the whole college. So that's sort of the message from that was that people wanted stuff that they could make a big impact with straight away, things that they could use with all their students. So digital literacy, employability, and English. Then moving on from that, the next areas were some of the big, vocational areas where most colleges have a fair chunk of students. Now, all of this content will be completed by the end of July, and it's pretty much 90-odd% completed now. So most of this, generally 30 learning objects for each of these, is on the Moodle. You can view it, you can see what's there. The second round of development, now by far the most popular, and again, probably not surprising, was British values and prevent. I must say, when I think about British values now after what happened last week, I'm a bit sort of unsure as to what we're talking about when we deliver British values is actually what happened, but that's another story. But this is obviously a huge thing in all colleges. This is something that Ofsted looks at very closely, that we have to deliver prevent and British values to our learners embedded in the curriculum. And so the colleges wanted resources to help support that. Now, following on from that, the second round seemed to be mainly, again, big vocational areas: health and social care, business, sports, beauty, travel and tourism. But with e-safety and enterprise as things that would cross-college. These resources, we're looking to have them at least half completed by the start of term. So member colleges will be able to use all of these in September. You'll have enough to take you through till after Christmas, and we're aiming to have them all finished by November, December. So that you can use next year. Moving on, the third round, well, we've just completed the consultation and doing the writer training for this now, so it's going to be a while before these are ready. We expect we'll start development August, September, and the first materials will start appearing perhaps late September, October, and hopefully we'll have these finished by January. And again, you see study skills at the top, maths, contextualised for vocational areas, so some stuff that you can use across the whole curriculum, but apart from that, it's mainly the specific vocational areas, the big vocational areas that are being covered. So you can see with those 3 rounds of development already, we have a massive collection of learning resources that any GFE can cover a fair size of their curriculum and can easily move forward to the 10% FELTAG target of what we should be doing online with our learners. Right, so what does the content look like? Now, I'm assuming that most of you have been onto the Moodle and have seen some of the content and what it looks like. But here's some screenshots where we spend a lot of time developing templates. We show these templates to our colleagues at the Royal National College for the Blind in Hereford, who did some testing on screen magnifiers, and we're happy that these worked well, that the colour contests worked well. If you've not seen the learning objects, do go on the Moodle, and any person in a member college can go onto the Moodle, blc.howcollege.ac.uk, can set up an account and can view all of this content. These are some of the assessment slides. So whenever a learning object goes into an assessment, the background turns black. So that's something that the learners will get used to over time. It's gone black, this is an assessment slide. And these examples of multiple choice, drag and drop, the different kinds of assessments that go on these slides. Again, some more slides showing sort of some of the graphics and the layouts that we're using. And something to say that member colleges don't just get the learning objects, they get the source files as well. So if you want to adapt any of these slides, if you want to put your own logos on it, if your staff maybe look at a learning object and say, oh, I wish it went into a bit more detail on something in particular, then you can edit these, you can add in stuff, you can take stuff out, you can do whatever you want. But the way that the licensing works is that apart from selling the content on, it's yours forever to do whatever you want with. Okay, I want to talk a bit now about what we've built here as a community is something extremely powerful. Now, firstly, we are all getting massive value for money out of this. Now, when I first back sort of this time last year was ringing around some of the colleges that we'd already built strong relationships with and trying to get them involved with the consortium, it wasn't an easy sell. I was having to say to them, I've got £5,000. Will you put £5,000 into this pot, and then we'll have £10,000, and then we can build some stuff. Now that's asking a lot from people. But thankfully, a few colleges, trusted us, felt that this was something that could grow, and joined in early on, and slowly as that's grown, it's become a much easier sell. Now when I'm talking to new colleges, I can say, if you put your £5,000 in, that's going to make this pot £335,000. You're going to get £335,000 worth of stuff for £5,000. So this is what I refer to, and I don't know if it's a real economics idea, but it's one in my head. I call this digital economics. And the point I'm making here is there's a difference between buns and bytes. If I've got 10 buns, and I walk down the first row, so I'd make you all very happy, I give out those 10 buns, you'd all have a bun each, I'd have no buns left. It's very, very different with digital stuff, with learning objects. If I make 10 learning objects, I can give each and every one of you 10 learning objects. I've still got 10 learning objects. You've all still got 10 learning objects. It's a very, very different kind of economic process that's going on there. So now, each new college that joins, that's great news for existing members, because that means you're getting an extra £5,000 worth of stuff developed. They know they're getting fabulous value, that they're putting £5,000 into a pot that is growing well over £300,000 now. So at the moment, with the colleges we have on board at the moment, and this some changes every week if we had another college, each college is getting a leveraged efficiency of £325,000 for their £5,000 investment. So that is a pretty amazing return on your investment. Now, when we multiply that efficiency gain across all the members, that becomes over £21 million. And so that is what, at the moment, the Blended Learning Consortium is saving for the sector, or for the colleges of the sector that are involved. Now, those savings don't include all of the resources that colleges are freely sharing, which come to over 200 hours of resources now. They don't include resources that we're developing through sponsorship. And we've got City and Guilds here today, our main sponsors, who are sponsoring the consortium with £15,000 to help us with developing content. So that, again, goes into the pot. And so the cost per learning hour of what's being developed is now well under £7. I think we've got to redo these sums. We did those a couple of weeks ago, but that is coming down all the time. And that's not for one learning hour, because all of these resources can be used again and again and again. If it's generic resources like employability, where you can use in many classes, it's going to cost you about 20p each time you use those resources. So in terms of the efficiency savings, which sadly, given what's happening with the funding to FE at the moment, we have to make, this is a real way where we can make those efficiency savings and keep the quality of delivery that we need for our learners. Another thing that's happened over the last year, that as the consortium has grown, that a lot of commercial organisations have approached us because they've seen that this is something that they'd like to work with. And on behalf of the consortium, we've negotiated a number of agreements with a number of partners where member colleges can make savings if they want to partner with those organisations, use their products, use their services. So firstly, XT Learn, who are doing a workshop, are freely providing us with a repository where you can build and adapt and add other resources into the content from the consortium, and we'll be doing some awareness raising over the next few months with consortium members around what you can do with this. Global vocational skills, you want to, Martin, here? They've got a stand in the thing, and do go and talk to. They're offering 1 year's free access to their excellent interactive learning resources to the first 15 colleges, I understand, or to 15 colleges in the consortium can get free access to their resources for a year. The very wonderful Association of Learning Technology are offering Blended Learning Consortiums 20% off ALT membership and the CMALT, which is the certified membership. If you want to demonstrate that you have skills in e-learning, it's a certification that you can get to do that. Cengage are offering members 40% off e-books and textbooks. And we found out that one of our member colleges, in fact, spends £9,000 a year with Cengage. So that their membership is pretty much paid for by what they're going to save through that deal with Cengage. We've worked with Articulate Storyline. So Matt, a few months ago, ran up the supply of Articulate Storyline and basically said we've got 40-odd colleges that are using Articulate Storyline to develop learning objects. If you don't do us a price drop, we're going to use Captivate next year. And down came the price. And so now the way this works, we can't say it's always going to be 70% off. The deal that we've done with them is that every few months we'll go to the members saying, right, who wants an Articulate license? And the more members that want one, we then do that as a pooled purchase, and the reductions go up as the number of purchases go up. So the first time we did this, we did get 70% off the price. Skills to Learn, who produce online learning objects, including some very high-end virtual reality stuff, are offering us 25% off their resources. Luna's Slate, which is very interesting. If you're here, it is there right in the middle of the room. If you want to get a look at him, he's not got a stand today, but do have a chat with him. He's got a very interesting new, very easy-to-use learning platform that I think is well worth having a look at, and is doing a workshop later today. So we've got sponsorship from City and Guilds and we've got a number more negotiations in the pipeline. Now, something else, something I'd like to ask all of you to think about is something that we haven't done yet, but I think there's huge potential to do, is to get sponsorship for particular chunks of content from big business. So, for example, if any of you have close partnerships with any engineering companies, you know, they could perhaps get their logo on our engineering content if they pay for its development or pay towards its development. Or, you know, saying you have strong relationships with a big construction company or a big hospitality company. And I think there's some real potential that when we go to these organisations and say, look, there's 60-odd colleges using these resources. You know, you can be involved in this. You can have your logo being seen by the sorts of students who may well work for you in the future. I think that's a very strong message and something that could help bring more money into the consortium to fund more development of resources. So, what has been the impact you know, in this 10 months that we've been going? We are now sharing, or will be sharing, over 1,000 hours of learning content. Now, over all the colleges, we have a total of over 350,000 students, so that's hitting a massive number of students. The consortium is helping drive forward blended learning in 66 colleges now, and it's also building that capacity in the colleges by using that money, that funding that we all put in training staff up so that they learn how to write and they learn how to develop e-learning resources. Okay, a couple of announcements as to things that are happening at the moment. We've been asked by the members if we can have some kind of social networking communication tool. We have had a few conversations where on sort of reply to all emails, and when those have gone on for a little bit, one or two people said, hang on, this is filling my inbox in, which is understandable. So we've set up a Ning. Those of you that are members, I'll be sending out an email in the next few days with a link to that Ning with some information on how to use it. But basically, we chose Ning because we can customize it. We have to pay for this, but we're using the management fees for the consortium to do that. It's very customizable. It's very easy to manage and administer. And any member of any blended learning consortium college can set up an account on that Ning. We can have general discussions about the content, about what's happening. I see that over time we can build communities for lecturers in particular areas, so we can get all of our engineering lecturers into one community who can discuss how they're using the content, etc. So this is something that we're going to push forward on next year to really improve the internal communication. We also are setting up a second consortium. We feel that this model is an extremely powerful model, a model where many colleges put a small amount of money in, that then becomes a large amount of money. We then democratically choose what we do with that money. In the world we're in, where money is more and more scarce, is a very powerful model to amplify what we can do. And so we did some, following a sort of discussion at the senior management group back in February, where there was an interest in a learning and development consortium, a consortium that would develop resources for training of college staff. We all do the same kind of training. We all have the same training needs in colleges. We all have the same professional development needs. So why don't we share the costs of doing that? So following doing that discussion, we paid Leslie Crane. Now, many of you have probably had emails from Leslie Crane over the last few months. I thought I'd put the picture so you could put a face to the name. Leslie is working with us on developing this consortium. It's going to start in August. We've already got a number of colleges who said they're definitely signing up. So it's going to use the blended learning consortium model to develop professional development resources. It'll work on the model of £5,000 plus VAT per year, all of that getting pooled. We've now set up a website which is live, lbc-fe.org, with some basic information about it. And if any of you, there's a flyer on the Learning Development Consortium in your packs, and if you want to find out more about it, do look at that flyer, or go to the website, or talk to any of the team. Now, all of you notice some people wearing these purple things. Anyone in the purple thing is a member of the ILT team at Hertfordshire College, so if you want to ask any questions later, they're the people. So where are we moving on in 2016-2017? Well, we hope to have continued growth of the consortium. Now, as Stuart said earlier, the consortium is being strongly supported by BIS, and BIS asked us to make the Blended Learning Consortium video. How many of you have seen that video? A few of you. It's on our website. Do have a look at it. It's Chetan. Where's Chetan? Is he around, or is he? Chetan is our video expert in the team. He's made a superb video. BIS asked us to make this to show at the annual based reviews to area-based reviews to principals to encourage other colleges to get involved. They see this as something that's very good for the sector, and we hope that's going to drive forward increasing memberships. It's a time of year when we are seeing if members want to renew, and this is my joke for the day. I've asked the members if there's going to be anybody not renewing their membership, and so far there have been no Brexits. We're also looking to develop more income through selling the content in individual chunks. So, you know, we're working with City and Guilds and with Cengage. We may work with GIST through the GIST app. We're still sort of talking to them about how that might work. And if we sell any chunks of content on, if we say a learning provider, particularly the sort of work-based learning providers that just deliver one or two curriculum areas, they might not want to buy into the whole consortium, but they might say want the health and social care stuff. And so they can buy that content through that. And any money that we get from sales doesn't come to Worcester College, it goes back into the consortium pot, and that will be used to update and upgrade the resources that are being developed. We've been approached by some ACL and some sixth form providers, but while they're very interested in the model, because their curriculums don't fully overlap with us, it's not really entirely right. So what we're looking to do there is have what I call bubbles. So if we can get a number of ACL providers together, say we get 6 or 7, their funding can go into one little bubble. They vote on what that funding gets spent on. The development is done for them, but they then get access to all of the Blended Learning Consortium content, much of which would be of use to them, and the content that gets developed through that ACL bubble goes out to everybody else. So we're looking to do a model like that to engage with our sort of the community, the parts of the educational sector that do similar work but not identical work to the general FE colleges. We're considering, and in fact I spoke at an HE conference on Tuesday about the consortium, and a lot of universities came up to me, people in university said, we need this for HE. So we're now strongly considering developing an HE consortium. And so a couple of them said that it would be great to have an FE college lead this, because the universities are very sort of jealous of each other and very competitive with each other. And if one university was leading it, all the other ones might have a bit of a sword and saying, I'm not joining in with them. But if it was actually an outside organisation, we might be more likely to build a partnership. So that's something we're strongly looking at developing. I went to Chicago a couple of months ago to the American Association of Community Colleges to talk about the Blended Learning Consortium there. Now, the community colleges are not exactly the same as FE colleges, but they're similar to us. And there was interest in setting up an American version of this. I'm going back in a few months' time to follow this up. And if we can get an American Blended Learning Consortium going, the idea being that any content that they develop will get access to, any content that we develop, they'll get access to. And again, it's that buns versus bytes. It costs nothing to share. And as long as we're sharing freely and openly and that we both give and get, there's benefits for everybody there. Okay, I just want to sort of mention our sponsors now, because without our sponsors we wouldn't have been able to do this conference so cheap. There's a lot of cost goes into running a conference like this. So our main sponsor, we've got the City and Guilds people in here in the room. Okay, so thank you very much for being our main sponsor today. And then the other sponsors of the conference, we've got Global Vocational Skills down at the front. We've got the Olds people in the room. Yep, there's our old friends, Thomas. It's Learning. The bright orange t-shirt people, you can't miss them. It's not easy to get. Cengage. We've got the Cengage, they're there. Thanks so much for coming. UFI. Okay, there's our UFI people. Lunacy Slate. There's Atif. And XT Learn. Is Rod in the room? Is that right? Please do talk to our exhibitors today. Their contribution to what we do is very valuable, and you know, it's very important that they feel they're getting that value, and that they're meeting with you and they're finding about your needs and about how they might work with you. Okay, any questions? Don't all ask at once. Any online questions, Ollie? Yes, oh, we have a question. Yes, any consortium member can get involved in that development process and can be paid from the consortium funding. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes, so come and talk to me about that. Okay, sorry, the question for the online people was, can other colleges get involved in the production? Okay, and any other questions? Right, okay, well, thank you very much, and I'll now hand over to Bob Harrison.